My name is Victoria, and today my purpose is to convince you on why there should be laws and more restrictions on owning a wild cat. Therefore, my thesis is that people should not be allowed to own wild cats in their homes as pets whatsoever. And during this time, I will go over how easy it is to obtain one, how dangerous it is and could be for owners, and how it could put the cat's health and safety at risk. But before I begin and get into the juicy stuff, I want you to look at these three cubs. You're probably thinking that these are the most adorable cubs you've seen, and you might even want to keep one as a pet. Well, remember that, and remember this picture, and I will come back to it eventually. Therefore, I will be starting with how easy it is to purchase one. So you may be wondering, is it really that easy to get one in the US? And my answer is, it's easier than you actually think it is. So in the article, Far from the Forest of the Night, author Josie states, more startling still, the price tag of a tiger cub is between $300 to $900. It is comparable to a poodle puppy that is registered with the American Kennel Club. That was in 2008, so you can probably guess that with the years going by, that they will be more spendy, which they can be, and they can get up to $7,500. But still, for an animal that size and that rare, that isn't that expensive, making it easier and more affordable to purchase one. Also in the article, Wild Obsession, the author states, privately owning exotic animals is currently permitted in a handful of states with essentially no restrictions. You must have a license to own a dog, but you're free to purchase a lion or baboon and keep it as a pet. This should not be acceptable. In all honesty, you would think that you wouldn't need a license to own a dog or a cat, but instead, in some states, you don't even need any of that to purchase a wild cat. Which brings me to what states have what restrictions. In big cat ownership in the U.S. is a big problem. They quote Rochelle Newer. In the U.S., about 2/3 of states have laws banning big cat ownerships, and about a dozen other states have laws that regulate the ownership. However, 4 states, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Oklahoma, have no laws at all governing the ownership. So here you can see a map of these states. The orange would be the states that have banned private ownership of large cats, and the bluish greenish are states that require a license or permit to possess large cats, and then the ones that are in the white are the ones that you don't need nothing. You can just go out and buy one for your well-being. But to me, it's crazy that there are states who have little to no restrictions on animals that could put so many people at harm if not looked after properly. So now that you know how easy it is to get a hold of one, let's talk about the amount of danger you would be putting yourself and those around you in. So, remember the pictures I showed you before in the beginning? Well, now look at them. Not so cute and cuddly anymore, huh? Now they weigh anywhere between 200 to 700 pounds. And in the article, Born Caged, the author says a playful swat from a bear or lion can easily injure someone. Children and small domestic animals are particularly at risk because, in the words of a previous lion owner, they look like dinner. Wild cats, like tigers and lions, are meant to aggressively hunt. That is what they do. So you can imagine one wrong move that angers them, and you might be their next meal. However, you would not be the only one at risk. In the article, Sorry Tiger King, but big cats don't make good pets, the author Schmid says, perhaps unsurprisingly, human error, such as not properly shutting or locking a door, has been the most frequent cause of animal escapes. Imagine the amount of chaos it would be if you accidentally did not lock the cage or enclosure and your pet tiger got out and was just wandering the city, causing could accidentally kill somebody, could potentially put someone with life-threatening injuries. In the same article, the author states that tigers are extremely strong and that once they get a hold of you, either with their claws or teeth, getting free can be extremely difficult, and in most cases, not without trauma. This just shows how these animals don't have the features to necessarily be gentle. Their version of play could lead to serious injuries and possible death. And I mean, these animals don't really know better and will always have that wild instinct. But enough with being selfish about our own risk. Let's discuss what I think is the most important, and that's how owning a wild cat can affect their safety as well as their health. So people think that by breeding and owning these cats, that it will prevent them from extinction. But what good is it for them to be living in our homes instead of out in the wild where they should be? There are roughly 3,900 left in the wild, and then 7,000 to 8,000 left are in captivity or owned as pets, and that's in the whole world. Some are even being taken straight out of the wild for breeding purposes, which then will have that number that are left in the wild slowly go down as time goes by. Owning a wild cat isn't as simple as owning a regular domestic cat. You can't just get a couple toys and a scratching post and a $15 bag of food each month and call it good. And here's why. So in the article, Pause, it states, no matter how well designed a captive habitat may be, it can never replicate the freedom that the animal requires to be a complete being. A permanently captive wild animal is doomed to a life of confusion and stress as he attempts to reconcile instinctual urges and with foreign objects and surroundings. So you may say, well, they live in fenced off areas, enclosures, and the zoo, but usually animals that are in the zoo have been rescued, causing them not to be able to live on their own in the wild. So these animals require far more than just a small fenced-in area. They need hundreds to even thousands of acres to roam free and just do their thing. And most likely those who purchase one don't have any intention of giving them that amount of space and freedom. But not only is spacing important factor, but also food. Wildcats can eat up to 15 to 88 pounds of raw meat in one sitting, and that's if they're hunting like they should be. But if they were living at home with you, 15 to 88 pounds of fresh meat can definitely add up, causing you to maybe have to get less and less over time to make sure that you have enough to feed yourself, which then leads to malnourishment for them, what should be wildcats. In the article, Far from the Forest of the Night, the author quotes Ron Tilson in saying they've lost a whole lot of genetic tools that may be real important to them and their offspring to survive. For example, resistance to certain kind of diseases, the ability to tolerate extreme heat and cold, and the ability to know how to hunt and kill. By these cats being out in the wild, it helps them to adapt to things that they wouldn't be able to do under your watch. Instead of setting them up for success, you're pretty much setting them up for failure, causing them to have to rely on you. A lot of people don't understand the amount of responsibility it takes to own a wild animal. And once they realize it, it's too much for the owner, and they try to get the zoo to take them. But in most cases, the zoo is too full to take them. So they either end up abandoning them or giving them to somebody else who will just keep them in small cages and pretty much keeping them there until they die. So going back to when I was saying that people think that owning these animals will prevent them from extinction, well, wouldn't it make it worse if owners just are leaving them to die because they're too much to take care of? I want to show this short video of this lion that was abandoned to somebody that just kept him in a cage. That didn't play as well as I thought it would. But you can see that from what you may have been able to see, the lion was roaring a lot. You could tell that it was stressed out. And you can obviously tell that where it's staying is a very low maintenance area. You can tell there's a lot of rust, and you can tell that the cage is probably very small. So that just shows that, like, by abandoning them, you're just giving them up and just letting them die. That being said, there should be more restrictions on owning wildcats as pets. So today I have gone over how easy it is to get a hold of one, how they can endanger you and those around you, and how it could also put the cat's health and safety at risk. So, do you still want and think it should be allowed to have a wild cat in your home as a pet?